Since the last Yu-Gi-Oh stream, MBT has suggested that we are quitting Yu-Gi-Oh, which means we have to watch his video talking about how we're quitting Yu-Gi-Oh apparently, and I'm gonna be mean to him. I'm gonna be super snarky to everything he says because I have to, right? His payback. His clickbait works so well, and it helped because we all posted it on Twitter. His views are fucking popping off. His video is doing crazy. Let's react to this MBT here, who apparently says we're quitting Yu-Gi-Oh. So I can't let this stand. I'm not quitting Yu-Gi-Oh. Make it clear. In fact, I just had a conversation. I wasn't quitting Yu-Gi-Oh. MBT was in the chat for that, and still during that, he puts me in the thumbnail. And a lot of other players. He put my entire world team on the thumbnail. So you see Ryan posted on Twitter, it's like question mark, I'm quitting, and then Jude in response is like, yeah, your whole team is quitting. No, we're not. They're still gonna be here. Now I get to leech some content from him. I gotta steal some of his views because he's fucking popping off with this. So now we gotta steal some back. You know, it's not fair that he gets to clickbait using our faces, and it's time we get revenge. All right, so as always though, even though this is a scam video, let's like, subscribe. Post a link in the comments, and let's see what MBT has to say to this about this topic. If there's anything new, or he's gonna say the same stuff that we kind of looked at the other day. You can't believe I'm quitting after last night. I said I'd never quit.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and
been a bad week for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, so
people are so doom and gloom. It's not that bad, and then people exacerbate it with videos like this. But this is the worst part is, I don't blame him for doing this. Look at how many views this is getting. Jessica Robinson's video also just popped off. Like, do I just have to make Yu-Gi-Oh's dying video in order to get views? I don't want to feel like I'm spreading bullshit though. Is Ray quitting? No, none of us are quitting. Josh isn't quitting either. I think most of those people aren't quitting. He put like a bunch of people that aren't quitting on the thumbnail.
we should probably talk about this Jess video, right? In a video uploaded earlier today, Jessica Robinson, a professional player from EU, revealed that she is stepping away indefinitely from competitive...
Yeah, she actually is, like, or she's at least said that she's quitting. That's fine.
This comes on the coattails of at least a dozen professional players online, either through YouTube or Twitter, announcing that they're taking a hiatus for one reason or another. The reasons that Jessica describes in her video shouldn't be particularly shocking to anyone who takes the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game seriously. They're the same reasons that pros have been echoing for the past couple of years, the same reasons why we keep getting this perennial news cycle of people feeling frustrated and burnt out on the game, and they're the same reasons that Konami seems completely willing to ignore. Obviously, Jess's decision to step away from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is her own decision, and I don't want to project any insecurities from the crowd upon her, but I think it's worth interrogating some of these larger reasons that keep cropping up and the mechanisms by which Konami could resolve them.
It's just going to be the same video, pretty much.
I mean, frequently these Yu-Gi-Oh! Is dying videos are easy to ignore. They come from individuals who picked up the game last week and were frustrated by how complicated it was. This is a pretty realistic perspective for new players, but it's important to recognize that it's not what's happening in this video. She has a ton of really impressive finishes over a ton of different years, and she's been in a
Why didn't I tell you were quitting?
For the game
because I wanted to keep you all on your toes, that's why.
So, Farfa, you can just turn off the video right now, but I want to draw a specific analog between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering. In Magic the Gathering, household names are absolutely...
I'm not sponsored by Konami, I can say it. Yeah, they don't treat us the best. I mean, like, it's not like they abuse us and kick us to the like road and shit. Like, they do nothing to help us. Like, they do nothing really. I'd say they do less than the bare minimum in a lot of ways, which is why I have to resort to like content creating, coaching, selling a TCG. Obviously the prizes, but whatever.
I don't know about all of you, but as a child, I thought that a dream job would be making a living off of the winnings from card game tournaments. And
yeah, obviously.
Even though Wizards of the Coast does provide winnings to individuals who make top cut at their events, certainly it's not enough to pay the bills. That's in direct contrast to Yu-Gi-Oh! Where currently, if you do well at an event, you get almost nothing. Jess talks a lot about this in her video, but she punched her ticket last year to the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship, meaning she was recognized as one of the top players in the world at the card game we all know and love. After wiping the floor with most Europeans, she went to the World Championship and wiped the floor with more individuals, getting a top 8 finish at the literal most prestigious tournament in Yu-Gi-Oh!'s history. And what did she get for doing so? Yeah, you know, nothing. She literally got nothing. In the video, she says she walked out empty-handed. This prizing scheme has been replicated time and time again in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's truly frustrating. Did well at a local tournament? You're probably receiving your prizing in
no prize for top 8's
no
kind of crazy.
It's just locals. Did well at a regional?
Josh said she didn't go empty-handed though. So the way Worlds works is there's an entry prize. Yes, she got the entry participation stuff, but top 8 itself, so making top cut, gives you no prize. There is no difference between top 8 and last place in the tournament. If you want to misconstrue what she means, sure, but there is no prize for top 8. That one is not like a debatable fact. That is fact. I've gotten top 8 before. You get nothing. You get the participation prizes still that everyone gets, sure. And like, yes, you can say that's still worth a bit of money, but they've made it worse now because a lot of the promos are worth a lot of money. So let's talk about like the Ghost or Dark Magician card from 2017. Those are given to stores. And now even more so, before they were raffles, now every store gets the promos. So do spectators at the event. I guess no spectators this year. But that Dark Magician Go promo that, at least when I won it, or I qualified for, I didn't top 8, got a few $1,000s for. The new promos, like $1,000. You can maybe get $1,500, $2,000 max from MG prizes from World Championship. Which, yes, is pretty good. That's not the end of the world. Like, that's fine. I don't think we really need to improve that much. I'd rather they didn't give the promos out to everybody and they were more exclusive to the actual competitors of World Championship. But like, if that's the pinnacle of your tournament, $2,000 is not crazy either. And at that point, just make a goddamn top 8 prize, or don't make it a top 8. Because I went undefeated in Swiss in my World Championship in 2018 that I got top 8 at. I literally played the person I beat in round 5 in top 8, and I bricked twice and lost. It fucking blows. Besides that, I got nothing. Entry prize and travel accommodation were a prize. If you want to make that argument, that's fine, but that still doesn't change your argument that top 8 gets nothing in addition to the last place. They could make the mat, like the top cut mat, top 8 instead of top 4 only. Because top 4 gets prize cards anyways. That mat's like $2,000, at least a $2,000 prize. Even if it's not that crazy, even if that is the bare minimum, that is still better than nothing. Literally just the world's top cut mat would have been a start. Instead, only top 4 gets it? Why? Why even have top 8 then? Just have mentioned how hard it is to sell the mat. Yeah, kind of. If you know the right people, it's not that bad. Like, I guess I don't have that problem because I'm well connected in the sellers community as well. I wouldn't say it's that bad. It's harder in the West. In Japan, it's not that bad. But if you're not in Japan for Worlds, or you don't know how to deal with the Japanese business people, it can be kind of rough, but you'll be able to sell it. That's not the biggest problem, right? Like, if you're getting stingy about the price, then sure, but you can definitely sell it. It's not that crazy. I will be contrarian to Josh there. She did walk out with no prizing for top 8. That is empty-handed for that. There was no prize for reaching top cut of that tournament. I can't possibly imagine defending that. Worlds is probably the best tournament of the year. I mean, it is the best tournament of the year. It's, as a player, it is the only time I feel appreciated by Konami. And to be honest, if they just made top 8 prizing, it'd be fixed. That's the only real like issue I have with Worlds. I think Worlds is the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament that doesn't have huge problems. So I'm not like harking on them to make Worlds like a better tournament, because if anything, that is the tournament that's not as bad. I think her wording of empty-handed is dishonest. Nah, I think it's fine. Like, yeah, I think so. What Master Duel does, which is better, at least they did last year, was a top 4 cutoff. So if you made top cut, you got prizing. I don't know why they couldn't just do that this year. They couldn't do that for TCG. It's like all top cut get prizing. That's fine. But Worlds isn't the problem, because one, Worlds is such a select few amount of players, and the prizing problem is not Worlds, because besides the specifically top 8 thing, Worlds actually has the best pricing. You do get an entry prize, you get a free trip, and they do treat you well. They actually make it feel special to be there. Worlds is not the problem Yu-Gi-Oh has. Worlds is one of the things Yu-Gi-Oh does right, I think. They have one problem, and that is the top 8 thing. I think everything else they do a phenomenal job at. Maybe they could do a bigger show about it, but I understand it can be really hard to budget for that stuff, because that stuff's fucking expensive. So I'm rather uninformed in that category, I'm not gonna explore it. But the problem with prizing is for sure just YCS and nationals, not Worlds. Not that like there isn't a problem, like, but if my focus is on any of the problems in Yu-Gi-Oh, that is not something I'm going to fixate on it anyways. So whether we agree or not, whether Jess went empty-handed or not, is irrelevant to the problem. Like, that's not really the problem that Yu-Gi-Oh has, but whatever. Anyways, let's go.
Mat and a deck box, because that is what you're getting. Now that you've done well at a regional, you're headed to the national tournament where you can compete for another rubber mat and a deck box. Sure, Wizards of the Coast isn't super generous with their prize pool, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, the prize pool is non-existent. Usually individuals are fighting over a rubber mat and occasionally a Nintendo Switch, a 7-year-old console at this point. Now, I understand why a lot of people don't see a particular problem with this setup. It's one of the reasons why it's been widely reported that Kazuki Takahashi said something to the effect of he didn't want money coming into Yu-Gi-Oh because it would make it feel like seedy gambling in a basement somewhere. With the understanding that you can't play cards for a living wage, why would you even put money in the pot anyway? Just give people the clout of winning, which they can then translate into something sustainable by making videos about their deck profiles or something. But honestly, this is just completely at odds with the reality of modern cardboard. Decks like Snake Eye Fiendsmith are creeping into the $2,000 range. If it costs an arm and a leg just to compete, shouldn't you get some sort of return on investment if you're willing to put in the effort to actually do well? And as for seedy gambling, card games have just been normalized to the point where I don't think that's realistic. Lorcana, the game in which you cast Disney characters and sing songs together, gives out 5 digits of prizing to people for making top 64 at
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's obviously hyperbole as well, right? Like, it's important to note that that's still just prize cards. The prize card structure we have needs to be improved for sure. Like, that's not even a question. They have more prize cards given out, They also have more desirable prize cards, but a market's demand and the IP that's behind it will drive prices. So you can't make it fair. Like Konami can't control if a prize card is worth nothing or not, but they can try help make it worthwhile, right? Like bullshit vanilla obviously is going to be worthless if they made like actual desirable prize cards and then also extended the prize cards to be for higher on Top Cut. They send multiple different prize cards, right? So one for Top Cut and then one for like top 4 and then one for the winner, right? That could be a way to go about it. And then you make them all unique and special and desirable, and you drive at least some demand. And I wouldn't expect these cards to go for 5 digits because the IP is not as big as Disney, and you can't like force that. And then obviously the other thing is like is with these new games like One Piece and Lorcana is the markets are brand new, so they're fresh. They may be volatile, they may collapse. So I wouldn't read too much into that pricing as like being too crazy. So I think people use it as like an analogy way too often.
There's very little incentive to push yourself as a pro player. Yes, you can stoke your own fires of self-determination, but the hours that you spend practicing the game are going to come at the realistic cost of your ability to hold down a job, relationships. To put in the effort necessary to be really good at this game, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. And when those sacrifices come at the benefit of quite literally no money whatsoever, it can be hard to say yes to it. The second reason that a lot of people are taking a break at present is because the format is really bad. So if you haven't been following the last couple of months of Yu-Gi-Oh, here's a quick explainer. There's a singular deck, Fiendsmith's Snake Eye, that's head and shoulders better than anything else. It isn't so dominant that it's risen to the level of tier 0, but it is extremely powerful. The other decks in the format are still playable, things like Tenpai and Yubel and Ritual Beast and Gimmick Puppet, but largely the non-Fiendsmith Snake Eye decks are not really playing Yu-Gi-Oh per se. Tenpai is a deck that benefits off of the fact that going second has been so bad for so long. Konami has printed some truly outsized going second tools. They get to load up on Raigekis, Dark Holes, Lightning Storms, and of course really powerful lingering effect hand traps like Mulcharmy and Dimension Shifter. Ritual Beast is another shifter deck that has also benefited from the recent and baffling unban of both Thunder Dragon Colossus in some corner cases, but mostly Arch Nemesis Protoss, which can call fire
I screamed
on turn 0.
I screamed about those cards coming back off the ban list, how bad they were for the game. I'm like, oh, they don't do anything just yet. Or don't do anything. But like the thing is just yet, right? So the time comes when they become toxic, and we are at that point now. So I'm very unenthused about that.
So with that all out of the way, let's talk about some potential solutions to this problem. First, let's talk about the pricing. This one's easy, just give us pricing. I know, Kazuki Takahashi didn't want the game to include money as a form of pricing, but like there's other stuff you can do. For a very short period of time after events returned post-COVID, people were getting starlight sheets from the prize wall. How hard is that to give out to top performers? Sure, there is an additional transaction involved where you have to contact someone on the secondary market who's looking, but those were going for like $20,000. Like that seems like a reasonable amount of money to win for like performing at the national tournament. In fact, the prize wall for side events is actually a pretty good indication of how you could actually reward people without just handing them cash. Why are giant cards not a consideration for main event? Why don't we have
they are now, they do oversized,
which is stupid to event anymore? Yeah. Hell, One Piece is doing this better than we are, and they've been making a card game for 6 months tops. Not to repeat Jess's example, but the fact that an individual can be recognized as one of the top 8 players on the entire planet and walk out of a tournament with nothing is embarrassing. And secondly, with respect to the format, there's no easy way out of this. Again, a lot of people want to put the blame on Snake Eyes and say, oh, well, Fiendsmith Snakes is so unbelievably powerful that we have to resort to these lingering hand traps that win the game for us with no input. But cards like Shifter are going to be good if Fiendsmith is in the format or not. It doesn't take a genius to recognize that if you ban some of the cards out of the top deck, the next 6 or 7 best performing decks are still going to load up on tools like Evenly Matched. I think what needs to happen is on this upcoming ban list, instead of just hitting cards for power reasons, there needs to be a deliberate design philosophy behind it. I've talked about this a great deal on some of my ban list videos, but it's frustrating that it seems like ban list to ban list, there's no through line as to what Konami wants Yu-Gi-Oh to look like.
I don't know if I agree. I think
do you want lingering effects that are hard to track and require no skill whatsoever to activate to dominate?
Been doing a solid
do you want
job,
insanely complicated
like,
nuclear fusion style combos to reign
like,
supreme? Or do you want some secret third thing? A place where those lingering hand traps aren't specifically available to every deck. A place where there are a myriad of decks with different play styles, none of which feel frustrating to play against. I lived through AGOV format. I know you can do it. At this point, unfortunately, curating a ban list so that such a format arises would require like upwards of 70 hits. I'm not just talking about like taking Flamberge out to pasture and putting Shifter to 1. Like you probably have to ban everything up to and including deck lockdown. Regardless, I think this is sort of a come to Jesus moment for Konami. I don't think the current direction of the card game is going to kill it, but it's going to take the individuals who are responsible for the most thought being put into the game, the professional players that largely dictate how the game is played even at a local level just by disseminating lists and information, to become disinterested. And if that happens, the game is absolutely going to suffer. I think it's worth doing what we can to reward the people who are performing. Otherwise, they're all just going to have to start YouTube channels to put food on the table. Or
Yay!
another YouTuber.
I mean, you have to do that anyways.
I made Top Cut at Euros.
Hey, Vlad.
And all I have to show for it is this fucking mat. Cool.
This video has been brought to you by Top64E.
What did it say?
Cool.
I made more money from editing than prizing. Nice.
Video has been brought to you by Top64 EUWCQ competitor Vladis. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.
I'm curious, like, so who on this thumbnail, who's quitting even? So Josh isn't quitting. I'm not quitting. Nesh isn't quitting. Ray Dye isn't quitting. Billy hasn't played in years. He's a Konami employee. Pack isn't quitting. Who's there at the back? I don't know who's there at the back. And I have no idea if Shooping is quitting. But I have no idea. You changed the thumbnail? Oh God. All the what's it called? The craziness, insanity. The thumbnail is obviously clickbait. I know it's clickbait. It did a damn good job. He's a masturbator. Kind of he is a masturbator, isn't he?